Why is it that some women only recognize a man's true value after he's gone? At first, she thought walking away meant freedom, a chance to feel in control. But as time passes, what she really feels is the weight of what she gave up. Because while she expected you to fall apart, you were busy becoming stronger physically, mentally, and emotionally. In this video, we'll break down how to turn her choice into her regret and why your growth, discipline, and presence are the very things that make her wish she never walked away. So if you're ready to shift the balance and step fully into your strength, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps spread this message to more men who need it. Now, let's dive in. The clean break. No smoke, no drama, number 1. The clean break. No smoke, no drama. Most guys argue, cry, or send paragraphs when she pulls away. Don't end it with composure. No drama, no games, just clarity. That silence stings louder than any speech. The truth is, when you react with chaos, begging, pleading, or trying to prove your worth, you only feed her ego and confirm her decision. But when you walk away with calm dignity, you introduce something she didn't expect. The weight of your absence. Think of it like this. If a fire burns out quietly, the sudden stillness is more haunting than the noise of crackling flames. That's the impression you leave when you refuse to play into drama. Picture a man who receives the dreaded breakup text. I think we should stop seeing each other. Most men type back an essay filled with explanations, accusations, or desperate what-ifs. But the Stoic approach is different. He takes a breath. He thanks her for the time they shared. Then he goes silent. Days pass, and she expects to see him online. Maybe lurking, maybe posting sad quotes, maybe trying to make her jealous, but nothing comes. Instead, he's living. He's moving. He's carrying on. And slowly, that silence begins to gnaw at her. It forces her to confront the possibility that she misjudged him, that he wasn't as dependent on her presence as she thought. This is what Epictetus meant when he taught about the dichotomy of control. Focus only on what is yours to command. You cannot control her emotions, her choices, or her need for space. But you can control your reaction. And when you choose silence over chaos, clarity over confusion, you demonstrate real power. You show that your peace of mind is not for sale, that you don't need her approval to validate your worth. What happens then? Her imagination does the work for you. The human mind hates empty spaces. It fills them with questions. Why didn't he fight? For me? Does he care at all? Has he already moved on? And here's the paradox. By not trying to make her regret it, you actually plant the seed of regret. That's the clean break. No smoke, no drama, just a quiet strength that lingers in her memory long after you've walked away. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll see. This isn't just about making her miss you. It's about reclaiming your dignity. It's about standing as the kind of man who knows his value with or without her. That's the energy she'll never forget, and the reason she'll eventually wish she never walked away. Upgrade season. Pain into power number 2. Upgrade season. Pain into power. Heartbreak can destroy a man or forge him. Hit the gym, build skills, refine your style, elevate your finances. Use the pain as fuel. Marcus Aurelius said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Her leaving isn't your downfall. It's your launchpad. But here's the thing. Most men don't realize. Pain is raw energy. It will either consume you or it will sculpt you into someone unrecognizable in the best way possible. The difference lies in whether you choose to let the pain break you or you choose to turn it into momentum. Think about it. Every sleepless night, every unanswered question, every time you catch yourself staring at old photos, those are sparks. Most men waste them, drowning in alcohol, chasing rebounds, or numbing themselves with distractions. But the man who embraces Stoic discipline sees pain as a tool. He walks into the gym not just to build muscle, but to forge resilience. Each rep, each drop of sweat is a declaration. I will not let this loss define me. Imagine her scrolling through her feed weeks later, expecting to see you still sulking, only to find you leaner, sharper, and more focused than ever. That image alone flips the script. And it's not just about looks. Upgrade season means elevating every part of your life. Maybe you've always wanted to learn a new skill, coding, public speaking, a language, or even martial arts. Now you have the fire to actually pursue it. Maybe your finances were sloppy, and this is your chance to master budgeting, saving, and investing. Maybe your wardrobe was just good enough, and now you step out with style and confidence that commands attention. These aren't changes made to win her back. They're changes made to win yourself back. The Stoics believed adversity was a teacher. Seneca wrote that hardship tests a man's soul. The way fire tests gold, it burns away the weak parts and reveals what's pure. That's exactly what heartbreak offers you. A test, a furnace. If you accept it, you come out stronger, sharper, and more unshakable. If you run from it, you stay stuck in the ashes. Here's the beauty of it. When you focus on upgrading your life, regret becomes her problem, not yours. One day, she'll see the man you've become, and she'll realize she walked away from the best version of you she never got to experience. That's when the regret hits hardest. And by then, you'll be so far ahead that her opinion won't even matter. You won't just be surviving without her. You'll be thriving because of her absence. That's how pain becomes power. Now, before we move forward, I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, are you letting heartbreak consume you, or are you using it as fuel to rise higher? Your answer to that question could change everything, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your perspective. Or if you want to keep it simple, just type, "Pain is my power," to let me know you're walking this path with me. And while you're here, don't forget to like this video. It helps spread the message to more men who need it. Now, let's move to the next step. Quiet proof. Loud results. Number 3. Quiet proof. Loud results. Don't talk about how well you're doing. Show it. Post the wins. Live the lifestyle. Carry yourself differently. Seneca taught that deeds matter more than words. When she sees the life you built, the results speak louder than explanations ever could. And let's be real, words are cheap. Anyone can say they're doing fine after a breakup, but it's the man who lets his actions speak for him that truly changes the narrative. Imagine scrolling through someone's feed. You barely notice the person who's complaining or dropping hints. But when you see someone glowing with progress, traveling, leveling up, and moving with a new kind of confidence that catches your attention, that's the power of silent proof. Here's an example. She expects you to mope around, maybe throw a few pity posts, or even try to throw subtle shade. Instead, months later, she sees you standing taller, laughing with friends, exploring new places, and maybe even showing small but meaningful wins, a new project, a healthier body, a sharper style. None of it is forced. You're not screaming, "Look at me now." You're simply living better. And that quiet, effortless shifty's far more powerful than any speech. It's not just that you've moved on, it's that you've elevated. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca often reminded his students that virtue isn't proven in promises, but in practice. Don't declare who you are. Live it. Don't announce your strength. Embody it. The same applies here. Instead of telling her you're fine, let her witness it in your posture, your choices, and the way you move through the world. Your life becomes the message, and she can't ignore it because the contrast between who you were and who you've become is undeniable. And let's not pretend. It will sting her. Not because you're trying to rub it in, but because she'll realize she's no longer part of the story. She'll remember the man she walked away from, but she'll see the man you've become, and those two won't be the same. That gap, that growth, creates the sharpest kind of regret. She left thinking she knew your limits, only to find out you had no ceiling. So stop wasting energy trying to prove anything with words. Proof isn't in arguments or explanations. It's in the way you transform and live. When your results are loud, you don't need to say a thing. The silence becomes the message, and it will echo far louder than any attempt to convince her. That's how you make her wish she never walked away. Warm boundaries. Firm spine. Number 4. Warm boundaries. Firm spine. A high-value man is kind but immovable. If she comes back with games or disrespect, you hold your line. A stoic man practices justice, treating others fairly, and temperance, knowing how not to overextend himself. She'll sense it instantly. You're generous, patient, and understanding, but you do not bend where it counts. And this is one of the hardest lessons for many men to learn. Because when emotions are involved, the temptation to compromise your standards just to keep her around is strong. But there's the truth. If you sacrifice your core values to please her, you don't win her respect. You lose it. Let's imagine a scenario. She pulls away, ghosts you for weeks, then suddenly reappears with a casual, "Hey, stranger." You might have jumped at the chance, replying right away, eager to let her back in without addressing the disrespect. But the man who has grown, who has set warm boundaries with a firm spine, handles it differently. You respond calmly without bitterness, but you also don't roll out the red carpet. Maybe you say, "Hey, good to hear from you. I've been focused on a lot lately." No anger, no coldness, but also no open door for the same behavior. That balance, warmth without weakness, makes her stop and think. The Stoics believed real strength was measured by self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he couldn't control the behavior of others, only his own choices. That applies directly here. You can't control whether she plays games, tests your patience, or disrespects your time. But you can control whether you allow it into your world. Boundaries aren't about punishment. They're about clarity. They communicate. I value you, but I value myself too. If you want access to me, it has to be on respectful terms. And paradoxically, this is what makes you more attractive. Because women test men not out of cruelty, but to feel whether his foundation is real. If you fold, she senses insecurity. If you rage, she sees immaturity. But if you stand calmly with kindness in your voice and firmness in your stance, she sees stability. She sees a man who isn't afraid to lose her because he refuses to lose himself. That's the kind of presence that lingers in her mind long after the conversation ends. So remember, warm boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about letting the right ones in on the right terms. Combine compassion with a spine of steel, and she'll realize she can't play the same games with you anymore. And that realization that you've grown into someone she can't shake becomes the very thing that makes her wish she never walked away. And that's the question I want to leave you with before we move on. When was the last time you held your line, even when it was tempting to bend just to keep someone close? Reflect on it, because those moments reveal whether you're living by your values or someone else's. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share a story if you've been there, or simply type "boundaries are a strength" to let me know you're walking this path with me. Now let's move into the next lesson. Number 5, make time expensive. Make time expensive. Attention is currency. Don't spend it recklessly. Limit your responses. Make interactions rare but meaningful. Epictetus warned against scattering your energy, reminding us that our time and attention are the most precious resources we have. And here's the truth. Most men give it away too easily, thinking constant availability proves love or loyalty. But what it really does is strip their presence of value. When something is everywhere, it feels common. When it's rare, it feels priceless. Guard your time like treasure, and she'll realize how costly it was to lose access to it. Think of it like supply and demand. If you're always there, replying instantly, clearing your schedule at the drop of a hat, showing up whenever she calls, you're flooding the market with attention. And what happens when supply is endless? Demand collapses. But when you pull back, when your responses are deliberate instead of desperate, she feels the difference. Our reply from you suddenly means something. An evening you spend together becomes a privilege, not a guarantee. And that scarcity naturally creates value without you having to force it. Picture this. She messages you late at night after weeks of silence. You would have dropped everything, typing back immediately, maybe even rearranging your plans just to see her. But the man who has learned scarcity done right handle sit differently. He doesn't ignore her, nor does he rush. He takes his time, responds when it fits his life, and if he agrees to meet, it's on his terms. Not because he's playing games, but because he respects his own schedule. That difference between being available out of desperation and being available out of choice shifts the entire power dynamic. The Stoics would call this temperance, knowing where and how to invest your energy. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about how every day was a chance to direct his focus toward what truly mattered and how foolish it was to waste time on things beneath him. Apply that here. When you give your time away carelessly, you're signaling that your life has no mission, no higher calling. But when you guard it, when you use it wisely, you radiate purpose. And purpose is magnetic. Eventually, she'll notice. She'll remember the days when she had unrestricted access to your attention and compare it to now, where your presence feels scarce, intentional, and valuable. That contrast alone can spark regret, because it forces her to realize she once had something she can no longer take for granted. And by then, you won't just be harder to reach, you'll also be harder to forget. That's how you make time expensive the right way. Number 6, the pause that tilts. The pause that tilts the table. Imagine she tests you with sarcasm, a sharp tone, or worse, silence that stretches just long enough to make your chest tighten. Most men react immediately. They snap back, defend themselves, or scramble to fill the silence because discomfort feels unbearable. But you pause. You breathe. You let the moment sit without rushing to fix it. And when you finally respond, it's not from panic or pride. It's from clarity. Sometimes that means answering calmly hours later. Sometimes it means not answering at all. That pause alone tilts the entire table because it proves one thing. You are not controlled by her moods. In most relationships, whoever controls the tempo controls the dynamic. If she pushes and you immediately push back, she sets the rhythm. If she goes quiet and you instantly flood her with messages, she owns the silence. But when you pause, you reclaim the tempo. Suddenly, she has to sit in her own words, her own test, her own silence, and wonder what's going on in your mind. That wondering is far more powerful than any rushed comeback you could ever give. Picture this in action. She sends you a biting text like, "Wow, I guess you're too busy for me now." The instinct is to jump in, defend yourself, and prove you care. But instead, you set your phone down, finish your workout, make dinner, maybe even sleep on it. Hours later, you reply with a calm, "I've been focused on a lot lately. Let's catch up when it works." No anger, no defensiveness, just steady composure. That one line says more than a page of explanations. It says, you're grounded, you're not desperate, and you refuse to be baited into drama. The Stoics had a word for this, prohoresis. It's the power to choose your response after the surge of emotion has passed. Epictetus taught that while you can't stop someone from testing you, you can control how you meet the test. That space, the pause, is where strength is forged. It's where you separate instinct from wisdom, impulse from principle. And here's the effect. When she sees that you don't react on command, her perception of you changes. You're no longer the man who dances to her tune. You're the man who moves at his own pace. That calm restraint makes her think twice before playing games, and it plants a seed of respect she can't ignore. More than that, it leaves her with a subtle ache, because deep down she realizes she may have underestimated you. And that realization, the quiet awareness that she can't rattle you, becomes the very thing that makes her wish she never walked away. Mission greater than mood. Number 7, mission greater than mood. Your life is built around purpose, not moods. Training, craft, goals. These don't pause for drama. Marcus Aurelius anchored his days in duty, not desire, reminding himself that he woke up each morning to serve a higher mission, not to indulge fleeting emotions. And here's the reality. When a man lives by mission, not by mood, he becomes unshakable. His energy doesn't swing based on whether she texts back, whether she's affectionate today or distant tomorrow. He's steady because his compass points towards something bigger than her approval. And paradoxically, that very steadiness is what draws her back into his orbit. Let's break this down. Most men let a woman's mood dictate their own. If she's cold, they panic. If she's warm, they relax. If she pulls away, they chase. Their entire emotional state orbits around her, and in doing so, they hand her all the power. But the man of mission operates differently. His training doesn't stop because she's upset. His work doesn't lose focus because she's testing him. His goals don't get paused because she's giving him silence. He keeps moving forward, grounded in what matters most: his craft, his health, his growth, his legacy. Imagine she pulls back, expecting you to spiral, to beg for answers. But instead, you're up at 6 a.m. hitting the gym, learning a new skill, building a business, or pushing forward in your career. She checks your social media, expecting passive-aggressive posts or sad quotes, but instead sees you progressing focused, consistent, moving with quiet intensity. She realizes she doesn't have the power she thought she had. And that realization, it shifts everything. The Stoics would call this alignment with nature, living in harmony with what is within your control and refusing to be ruled by external whims. Seneca once wrote that to be everywhere is to be nowhere. That means scattering yourself across other people's moods and demands robs you of focus. But when you harness your attention, when you build your days around what's lasting and meaningful, you radiate gravity. You stop chasing and start attracting. And here's the twist. Women are drawn to men who have a center of gravity stronger than their own emotions. A mission makes you that man. It makes her feel the pull even when she's far away, because when she sees you orbiting something greater than her, your discipline, your vision, your purpose, she realizes she's not the axis of your world. And oddly enough, that's when she wants to be pulled back into it. That's when regret creeps in because she remembers the man she left was good. But the man you've become is untouchable. Think about this for a moment. Are you living by moods or by mission? One will keep you stuck in cycles of reaction. The other will pull you forward no matter who stays or leaves. A Stoic doesn't let fleeting emotions steer the course he builds, from a place of clarity and discipline. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one area of your life where you could shift from mood to mission? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Or if you want to keep it simple, just type mission over mood. Your reflection might be the spark another man needs to hear. Number 8, new orbit, new gravity. New orbit, new gravity expand your circle. Mentors, peers who challenge you, women who admire your discipline. This isn't about flexing. It's about leveling up your environment. A man's orbit is defined by who surrounds him. And when you elevate the people in your life, you inevitably elevate yourself. The truth is, we often underestimate how much our circle shapes us. If you spend time around those who settle, complain, or indulge in mediocrity, you'll get pulled into that orbit. But if you surround yourself with ambitious peers, wise mentors, and even women who respect and admire your discipline, you create a new gravity, one that naturally pulls others, including her, to take notice. Picture this. Before the breakup, your life revolved mostly around her. Plans, energy, even goals, everything bent around her mood. But after she leaves, you decide to expand your universe. You join a mastermind group, start training with people who are stronger and more focused than you, or network with those who are further along the path you want to walk. You enter rooms that challenge you instead of comfort you. At first, it's uncomfortable. You're the smallest fish in a bigger pond. But that discomfort is exactly what forges growth. The Stoics called this voluntary discomfort, the practice of stepping into challenges to harden the spirit and sharpen the mind. Seneca himself would practice sleeping on the floor or eating plain food to remind himself that he could handle difficulty. For you, it might look like stretching your social, physical, or professional boundaries until you adapt and grow. Now imagine her perspective. She looks back, expecting the same man she once knew, the one who revolved around her world. But instead, she sees you with a new circle, a new energy. Your photos, your conversations, your presence, it all feels different. You're not trying to prove anything. Yet, your new gravity speaks louder than words. She notices that other people value your time, that women respect your discipline, that mentors invest in you, and that peers treat you as someone worth sharpening themselves against. Suddenly, you're no longer the man she left. You're part of a much larger orbit that she doesn't belong to anymore. That distance burns. And here's the deeper layer. This shift isn't about showing her anything at all. It's about building a life so rich and full that her absence doesn't create a void. It creates space for better energy to flow in. That's what makes you magnetic. The man who embraces discomfort, sharpens himself, and surrounds himself with excellence, builds a presence that can be felt from afar. And when she feels that pull, the new orbit you've created, it stirs regret because deep down she'll realize she underestimated how far your gravity could reach once you stepped out of hers. Release to rise. Number 9. Release to rise. Bitterness keeps you chained. Release her, forgive silently, and keep building. At first, that might sound impossible. After all, when someone you loved walks away, the sting of rejection lingers. Most men hold on to that bitterness like a badge, replaying old arguments in their heads, clinging to what-ifs, or waiting for the perfect chance to prove she was wrong. But here's the irony. The more you hold on to anger, the more you keep her close. Not physically, but mentally. She still owns your energy, still occupies your thoughts, still dictates how you move. True freedom begins when you release her. Not in words, not in dramatic speeches, but insolent forgiveness. That's when you rise. The Stoics had a powerful practice called the view from above. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about zooming out, imagining himself looking at the earth from a bird's eye view. Then further until even Rome itself was a dot against the vastness of the cosmos. In that perspective, personal drama shrinks. The fights, the heartbreak, the games, all of it becomes small when compared to the larger purpose of life. Apply that here. When you zoom out, you realize that her leaving isn't the end of your story. It's a paragraph in a much greater book, and that book is still being written by you. Picture a man who, after his breakup, spends months scrolling through her posts, obsessing over who she's with, and plotting ways to make her regret it. He's trapped, living in reaction to her instead of action for himself. Now picture another man. He acknowledges the hurt, sits with it, then releases it. Not by announcing it, not by pretending it didn't matter, but by forgiving her in silence and choosing to move forward. He invests that energy into building, creating, and growing. He steps into the gym, into his craft, into his mission. Slowly, his life becomes fuller, his presence calmer, and his peace undeniable. That's release. That's rising. And here's where the shift happens. When she senses you've truly let go, not pretending, not playing games, but actually moved on, it unsettles her because she expected you to stay chained to the past. She expected her absence to haunt you. Instead, she finds that you're lighter, freer, and building something greater without her. And that weight, the weight of realizing she no longer anchors your thoughts, is what presses on her heart. That's when the regret sets in. Release is not weakness, it's power. Forgiveness isn't for her, it's for you. It clears the path so you can walk lighter, faster, further. And by the time she feels the weight of her choice, you'll already be too high to be pulled back down. That's the beauty of letting go. You don't just move on, you rise. And now pause and ask yourself, are you holding on to anything that's still chaining you? Maybe it's an old argument. Maybe it's the silent wish that she'll see you winning and come crawling back. Whatever it is, recognize that as long as it lingers, it's not her who keeps you stuck. It's you. True release is an inside job, and it's the quiet decision to let go that sets you free. So, take a moment to reflect. What weight can you finally drop today? Let me know in the comments below. Your reflections might be the spark another man needs. Number 10. If she returns, lead, don't. If she returns, lead, don't lean. If she circles back, don't fall into old patterns. This is where most men stumble. They get caught up in the rush of her return. Blinded by the relief that she finally came back, they lean in too quickly, trying to recreate what was lost. And in doing so, they hand her the power all over again. But a high-value man doesn't lean. He leads. If she comes back, you slow things down. You set the pace. You raise the standards. You don't let nostalgia override the lessons you've learned. Think of it like this. She didn't leave by accident. Something in her, whether pride, immaturity, or uncertainty, made her walk away. And if she returns, it's not proof that everything has changed. It's a test. You need to see if her actions now align with what she says, if her consistency matches her words. For example, if she says, "I miss you and I want to try again," you don't immediately throw open the door. Instead, you observe. Is she putting in effort? Is she respecting your boundaries this time? Is she showing up with the same consistency she expects from you? This is where Stoicism gives you an edge. The practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortune, teaches us to prepare for all possible outcomes. A Stoic man knows she may stay, but she may also leave again. Either way, he remains unshaken because his foundation is no longer built on her presence. If she stays, she must rise to meet his standards. If she leaves again, he continues forward on his mission, unchanged and undisturbed. That's the power of being anchored in yourself. Picture her trying to rekindle things, expecting the old version of you, the man who would chase, overinvest, and bend to her moods. Instead, she finds someone different. She finds a man who takes his time, who listens but doesn't rush, who treats the relationship not as a prize he's desperate to win back, but as a possibility that must earn its place in his life. That composure alone unsettles her because it makes her realize she's not dealing with the same man she once left behind. And here's the secret. Whether she stays or not, you win. Because your power doesn't come from her decision, it comes from your discipline. You're no longer a man waiting to be chosen. You are a man who chooses. And that shift, the quiet authority of a man who leads instead of leans, is exactly why she'll never forget you. When you show her that you don't need her to remain whole, she will feel the weight of her choice more than ever. And if she regrets walking away, it won't be because of what you said. It will be because of who you've become. And that conclusion, brother, is the truth. When you choose calm over chaos, growth over desperation, and purpose over pleading, you stop being just another man she once knew. You become the man she remembers, the man whose silence carries more weight than any words. Whether she regrets walking away or not is no longer your concern, because by then, you'll be too focused on building a life she no longer has access to. That's the real power. That's the Stoic path. If this video gave you something to think about, even just one perspective that hit home, go ahead and tap that like button. Drop a comment below and share which part spoke to you the most. Or simply type, "My silence is power," to let me know you're walking this path with me. And don't forget, There are more videos on screen right now to help. You keep growing stronger, calmer, and unshakable. Click one and keep leveling up.